Hello everyone, I am PickTalk. Please turn off the lights, lie in bed, tuck in the quilt, and let's start today's story. Story 1. This story took place in the 1980s. It was told to me by a colleague who worked at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Beijing, though her hometown is in Hebei province. Below, I will recount the story from her first-person perspective. When I went back to my hometown, a distant elder sister of mine, around 60 years old, asked me, "Do you believe in superstition?" I said no. She replied, "Tonight, I'll make you believe it wholeheartedly." I still insisted I didn't. When night fell and it got dark, she took a fei luo fei, a traditional hand-woven utensil used mainly for holding or sifting items. It can be made of rattan and different mesh sizes, separate grains from fine dust, or strain liquids like flour for baking or mung bean jelly. She set up the luo to write and kept scribbling answers to questions. It was incredible, I said. "You must already know all about me," she retorted. "Then ask me something I don't know." So I asked about my next-door neighbors, to my astonishment. She wrote down accurate details about their lives. Still skeptical, I asked about my father, where he worked, and his full name. Here's how it worked. Cornmeal was spread evenly on a table. A clip was attached to the bottom of the luo, which was then placed on the cornmeal. Two people held the luo steady. After a question was asked, the luo would start moving, and the holders followed its motion. A mirror was also placed on the table when I asked where my father worked. The luo spelled out Luxembourg. It was mind-blowing. He was indeed working abroad at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Stationed in Luxembourg, I accused them of knowing beforehand and moving the luo themselves. So she said, "Ask about the neighbors then." I asked which country our neighbor was in, and the luo wrote Belgium. I then asked their child's name, and it wrote Wang Lai. Every answer was correct, unbelievable. Since I wasn't married yet, I asked if I would marry someone from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Like myself, the luo wrote number. I wanted to ask how long I would live, but my aunt, this elder sister's mother, stopped me firmly. "Don't ask that," she said. "It will upset you deeply." So I didn't dare. When I returned to Beijing, I told my neighbor about this. They suggested we try it ourselves, but it didn't work at all. The luo wouldn't move. Another strange incident happened when my grandfather passed away. It was around 5 a.m. on a winter morning, still pitch black. Half asleep, I heard a constant rustling behind the door. I wondered what it was, so I woke up and listened carefully. After the noise stopped, I heard my grandfather calling my name. "I'm leaving, I have to go." He passed away that day. That also felt incredibly mysterious. In the 1980s, I practiced a form of Qigong, though I had no idea what kind it was. After giving birth, I was in so much pain all over my body that I couldn't go to work. A friend suggested Qigong, so I started practicing it regularly for a long time. Later, I told my mother-in-law about it. At first, she didn't believe me. "Practice it in front of me," she said. "I want to see how it's done and learn." After practicing with me, she was convinced immediately. She said she could never perform those movements under normal circumstances. Her feet kept jumping. First one, then the other, as fast as if they were electrified. After that, she fully believed in Qigong. What's more, while practicing, I saw my paternal grandparents and maternal grandfather descending from the sky in a line. I waved and called out to them, and then they left. After that, my mother-in-law started practicing too. She kept at it for years, and even became able to treat people with Qigong. A friend's son had eye problems. His vision was blurry and he could barely see. My mother-in-law treated him with Qigong every day, and his eyesight recovered soon after. I still don't know why. Story 2. This story happened to a friend of my colleague. Back in 2023, I was working as a ride-hailing driver. We colleagues had a group chat, and there was a guy in the group who shared the same surname as me. We were quite close and would meet up to chat from time to time. I remember one summer day, we met and chatted. Nothing more than how much we'd earned that day and how tough the business was. As we talked, he accidentally brushed against me. I instantly felt a cold chill coming from his body and asked, "Are you sick? Why are you so cold?" But he ignored my question and instead kept asking how much I'd made that day. After a few more words, he said goodbye and left. Who could have imagined that a few days later, I saw an announcement on his moments posted by his family, saying he had passed away from a heart attack, and the time of his death was exactly when I met him that day. Looking back carefully, we had first chatted on WeChat that day. I asked where he was, and he said he was near a certain shopping mall. What a coincidence. I was nearby too, so we agreed to meet up for a smoke and a chat. After seeing his family's post on Moments, I felt really uneasy, so I specially called his home. His father answered. I hastily asked, "Uncle, what on earth happened? How did he pass away so suddenly?" His father told me it was a sudden heart attack. He had died in the car. I then asked the exact date, and the date his father mentioned was precisely the day we met. I was completely dumbfounded and said, "That's impossible. We met near the shopping mall that night." His father was also shocked and said, "How could you two have met?" I quickly explained, "We really did. I have a dash cam in my car, and we also have chat records on WeChat." After saying that, I took a screenshot of the chat records and sent them to his father. His father was probably too grief-stricken to say anything more. It was around 10 o'clock that night. Our cars were parked facing each other. His car was turned off, but mine kept running because I was still taking orders. When we met, he offered me a cigarette, but I don't smoke, so I declined. When he brushed against me, I thought it was strange how cold he was, but he didn't respond. We then continued chatting about daily stuff. He lit a cigarette for himself, smoked it, then lit another one, and offered me a cigarette again. I still refused. After finishing his cigarettes, he was ready to leave. I watched him get into his car, but he didn't start the engine. He just kept watching me drive away. Later, the more I thought about it, the creepier it felt, so I checked the dash cam. To my horror, the footage only showed me standing there talking to myself. There was no sign of him at all. After this incident, I fell ill and had a high fever. Taking medicine didn't help, and the fever lasted for several days. I had no choice but to tell my family about what happened. They told me to go to a crossroads and burn some paper money. Hell money. I did as they said, and unexpectedly, my fever broke the next day, and I gradually recovered. After going through all these things, I was really scared. Later, I deleted his WeChat contact. Even now, whenever I think about it, I still feel a chill down my spine. There are really many things in this world that science can't explain. Story 3. This story was told to me by a client of mine. It's a true story that his cousin experienced personally when he was serving in the military. My cousin was in his 20s when he joined the army and served for several years. The compound where he was stationed was quite remote. Every night, there were almost no people or cars passing by the gate. Because his unit was special, everyone wore steel helmets. And when he first arrived, he was given a new one. There was a system in place. They took turns standing guard. One night, it was his turn to stand guard. It was nearly midnight when his superior, during a routine patrol via surveillance cameras, noticed that my cousin was standing there, saluting to empty air. The superior thought to himself, who was he saluting? There was no one at the gate, no cars, and it was almost midnight. The position where he stood guard had a searchlight above it, which could only illuminate an area of about 10 meters around. Beyond that range, everything was pitch black. The compound was located in a remote area, so it was very quiet. Then the superior called him on the walkie-talkie. "Hey, what are you doing? Who are you saluting over there?" My cousin replied, "I'm not saluting. I've been standing here the whole time." The superior said, "I saw you saluting someone on the monitor." But my cousin flatly denied it. "I definitely wasn't saluting. I've been standing here with my eyes open the entire time." The superior found this very strange, but he didn't press the issue too hard. After all, my cousin was a new recruit with a steel helmet, young in age. Maybe he was just fooling around or being mischievous. The next day, they replaced my cousin with another young man in his 20s, also wearing a steel helmet. At the same time and in the same position, this new recruit also saluted to empty air. Then the superior thought, "Why is he saluting too?" Just then, my cousin was also in the monitoring room with the superior and said, "Look, he's saluting too. Did you see that? I wasn't lying to you yesterday. Just watch the monitor yourself." Only then did the superior realize my cousin wasn't joking. He picked up the walkie-talkie and called the new recruit. "Hey, what are you doing over there?" The young recruit gave the same answer. "I've been standing here the whole time." The superior felt that something was seriously wrong. This had happened to 2 people in a row, which was anything but normal. Later, the superior reported the incident to his own superior. The higher-up didn't believe it at first and said, "I'll go to the monitoring room myself to observe." He observed for 2 days and found nothing unusual, but on the 3rd day, when it was my cousin's turn to stand guard again, at the same time that night, he saluted to empty air once more. This time, he not only saluted but also seemed to be chatting and laughing with someone. The superiors were terrified and thought, could this kid have some kind of illness? Then the higher-up said, "No, this is not as simple as it seems." A few days later, during the daytime, they urgently held a meeting to discuss the incident in detail, gathering several leaders of the same level to brainstorm. They also reviewed the surveillance footage several times and confirmed that something was indeed abnormal. The leaders made a decision they would call in a Harry Potter. What did they mean by Harry Potter? It was a local term for a respected Taoist master. Later, the Taoist master came to the compound, inspected it, and said, "This place is unclean. There's a problem here." My cousin's superior told the Taoist master, "Before our compound was built here, this place was just a mound of earth. It wasn't suitable for anything else, so it was assigned to us." The Taoist master then performed a series of rituals to deal with the issue. And finally, the strange incident stopped. My cousin never saluted to empty air again. Later, his superior asked him, "What did you see when you were standing guard there?" My cousin said, "I didn't see anything. I don't even know what I was doing. In my mind, I was just standing guard there." In the end, the matter was closed like that. This is a true story that my cousin told me. Story 4. This story was told to me by a fellow passenger on a high-speed train when I was on a business trip. It's a true story that an old colleague named Lao Lu from his previous workplace used to tell. When Lao Lu was young, he worked as a forest policeman in Waiwa, Hunan province. He had an extremely bizarre experience that he went through personally. It sounds like something made up, but Lao Lu was a seasoned veteran who always spoke reliably. Moreover, he really was transferred from Waiwa to Jiangxi, so this story has stuck in my mind all these years. At that time, I had just joined the workforce and was assigned to a town-level forest police station. Lao Lu had been a forest policeman since the 1980s and was supposed to retire. But because I was a new recruit, he was assigned to train me personally and planned to leave only when I could handle the work independently. One day, when we had some free time, he told me about an experience he had in the mountainous area of Waiwa. Back then, transportation and communication were not convenient, and the rules at the police station were not as strict as they are now. One day, a farmer from a mountain village came to report a case, saying that 2 of his sheep had been bitten to death by something. Their necks were torn open and their heads were gone. It was just lunchtime, and there were only about 5 or 6 people at the police station. Lao Lu asked the 2 farmers to stay for lunch, saying that after we finished eating, we would go to the scene to check it out at night. If the sheep had been bitten by wild animals, he would process the subsidies and compensation for them according to the procedures. After all, as forest policemen, this was part of their job. After lunch, Lao Lu, along with another young colleague, drove the police station's old pickup truck, sputtering and rattling, carrying the 2 farmers to their village. It was already past 6 o'clock when they arrived, and the sky was completely dark. Lao Lu shone his flashlight on the sheep pen first, and the more he looked, the stranger he felt. If wild animals had bitten the sheep, there should have been footprints on the ground, right? But after shining the flashlight around for a long time, there were no signs of wild animal footprints, not even any traces of struggle. Instead, on the muddy ground next to the sheep pen, they found a row of small footprints that looked like human footprints. The footprints were about size 34, similar to a child's footprints. Lao Lu asked the farmer, "Where are your children?" The farmer said, "All my children are in high school. They only come back on Saturdays and Sundays." Lao Lu then asked about the footprints, but the farmer couldn't explain them either. At that time, they didn't think much of it. They lifted the 2 dead sheep onto the pickup truck, planning to send them to have their wounds tested the next day to find out what had bitten them, and then took the farmers back to the police station. But at around 2 o'clock the next afternoon, The same farmer hurried to the police station again to report that 1 cow and 2 more sheep in his family had been killed. This was not right. 2 sheep had been killed the day before, and now it had escalated to a cow. It was definitely not an ordinary wild animal. Lao Lu and his colleagues rushed over in the car immediately and said to the farmer, "We'll stay at your house today and keep watch at night to see what exactly is causing this trouble." The trees in the mountain village were not very thick. At around 7 o'clock that night, Lao Lu and the others felt that there was something on the trees. Not small animals like cats, but more like medium to large creatures. They always felt that the trees were shaking slightly, but they didn't pay much attention to it at the time. Back then, the management was loose, so everyone drank some alcohol together in the evening. At around 9 o'clock, there was a sudden thump, thump, thump sound coming from the cattle pen. Lao Lu and his colleague reacted instantly. Back then, policemen were equipped with guns, so the 2 of them immediately grabbed their guns and ran to the cattle pen. When they rushed in, they were dumbfounded. They saw a human-shaped creature pouncing on the cow, biting its neck with its teeth. Lao Lu later told me that the creature was incredibly fast. He didn't even think. He just pulled the trigger. With a loud bang, the creature disappeared in an instant. No one knew where it had fled to. He said he saw it clearly. The creature was about 1.4 meters tall, with black skin. It didn't walk, it hopped. When he shot it, the creature even turned around and roared at them. But strangely, no sound came out. At that time, the 2 of them took their flashlights and chased forward. They clearly felt that they had hit it with the bullet, but there were only those small footprints on the ground again. Not a single drop of blood. Both of them felt a chill run down their spines. They quickly ran back to the village and told the farmer to beat a gong to gather the villagers. The villagers all came with torches and searched the mountains together all night. It wasn't until around 7 o'clock the next morning that they found those small footprints again near the entrance of a shaded mine cave. But no one dared to go in. There was no other way. They had to report the incident to their superiors. The bureau quickly organized a team to go in and search, but they found nothing. The matter had to be resolved somehow. In the end, they had no choice but to cut down all the trees around the mine cave, pour diesel on them and set them on fire. After that, they used explosives to blow up the mine cave and then filled it with soil to seal it completely. And all the people who knew about this incident, including Lao Lu, were transferred to other places. Lao Lu was transferred from Huaihua to Jiangxi because of this incident, and later he came to our police station. Lao Lu said that later he heard that after the fire, some bones were found near the mine cave, but he didn't know exactly what they were. I asked him what that creature was, and he said he couldn't say for sure. He could only call it a human-shaped thing. Now that he thought about it, it might have been the kind of stiff creature that the older generation talked about. That is the end of today's story. If you have folk tales you'd like to hear, leave them in the comments. I am PickTalk, and I'll see you next time.